Welcome folks, this is Wear and Tear, yet another outdoor and gear review channel. Today I want to show you a Proelia knife. This is called the Defcon TX020 Pro, and it's a drop point knife. It has a hollow grind and features a ball bearing system. It is a liner lock, has a contoured G10 handle, 3D milled, and it is based around D2 steel. So as we can see here, there's already a little bit of usage on this knife. Some is from me and some is from the one who actually owned the knife before me. I got it in a trade. It runs between a $60 and $110, depending on where and when you get it. What I really like about this knife is the action. It is a very nice and smooth action, drop shots. It is really fast with those ball bearings, needs very little strength to deploy it. So it's a fun knife to play with, but the contoured handle is really very ergonomic. I carry large gloves, and for me this knife is really very nice in hand. Now it says the D2 steel is air hardened. So they put a lot of attention to the steel according to what the advertisement says. But what I really like also is the backspacer here with this diamond checker pattern that actually feels quite good. And when you have this knife in hand, you can totally tell it is made for people who actually work with knives and stuff. Now what I don't like so much is of course the ball bearings. In my opinion, they tend to, well, accumulate dirt and then they don't run so well anymore or even get damaged. But you know, it's worth the risk. It's still excellent work knife. Now I would consider it a full-size knife. Now let's have a brief look at the weight. Wow, it runs close to 200 grams, and that's quite something. If we compare it to a cold steel Spartan, that's 260 grams. Let's compare it to a CRKT M16. It's 180 grams. Similar size, so they're all similar size pretty much. And yeah, for me the Proelia, at least this version, is a full-size knife, just like the CRKT. Then we get into the oversized size department with the cold steel Spartan. A ridiculous territory, like with a cold steel Voyager. Those are really massive folding knives. There are other categories of folding knives that are pretty massive. This is Mr.Blade HT2. It's also D2 steel. It also comes with ball bearings. It's more similar to this than the cold steels. It's because it's pretty much the same technology. Like the cold steel HD2, the Mr.Blade HD2 has the most massive liner lock I've ever seen. But thanks to a ball bearing and very precise machining, it runs buther smooth. It even runs a little bit smoother than the Proelia, I would say. But this is a little bit more of a practical knife, at least for my hands. The HD2, well, if you have much larger hands than I do, you might even think of this as a full-size folder that is perfectly comfortable for you. But for me, the Proelia is already up there in the max territory for an EDCable knife, at least in my book. For example, Spartan, for me, I would have to have a special reason to carry a Spartan, because for every day it's a little bit too big for me, just like the Voyager. But the CRKT and the Proelia is fine. Build quality on the Proelia is excellent. It's really one of those knives that you like to operate because it's super comfortable. It really has something that this knife doesn't have for me. Or for example, let's look at another full-size knife, the CRKT M1604KS. I like the overall shape of this knife and everything, but the handle is too thin for me. Like, if I had to do hard work, other than box cutting, the CRKT, this one would be too thin, too uncomfortable for me. While with the Proelia, I feel confident to do even the hardest task. Like, for example, cutting paper, right? Cutting paper is like totally something, and it doesn't even do the job right? No. It's okay. It's not exactly very sharp because I used and abused it a little bit. No, plus it's a little bit thick for a paper cutter. But the Proelia is a pretty cool knife. Just wanted to show you because this is also a knife channel. This was Wear and Tear, over and out.